So through that process and honestly losing myself to unworthiness, I woke up this past year and just, I don't know what happened, Rachel, but it was enough. My heart was like, enough.
Hello, beautiful people. Yes, I am talking to you. Are you ready to feel confident AF, free from the expectations and opinions of others, and create ultimate self-trust in who you are, what you say, and how you show up in every part of your life? If you answered a hell yes, I am, I guarantee this episode will empower you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. It's time for you to strut your stuff, express yourself with freedom, and fully embrace every freaking fabulous part of you. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Road to Radical Visibility. I am Rachel Freemon Sowers, your host, also known as the Breakthrough Bitch, because I am passionate about helping people in the LGBTQ plus and female communities break free from the social constructs, beliefs, and opinions that have been holding them back from creating and experiencing their life exactly the way that they want to. If you're someone who has found yourself overthinking, overdoing, overly responsible for everything, when you feel like you need to take something off your plate, you actually put something else back on, and you rarely celebrate your accomplishments because you're so busy driving, then this episode is for you. This episode has a little bit of me in it as well, because this topic has come up because it is something that I used to struggle with in my past. And now that I've switched it to not having to have things be so hard in order to feel like I've accomplished something, that I'm worthy of something, that I'm worthy to do something, or I'm worthy of the thing that I'm doing, then I've been able to just be in more flow and more ease and really see the beauty that's around me, to acknowledge the accomplishments that I've had, and just to have more joy and honestly love in my life. And so this topic has also come about because my clients seem to be experiencing these 5 same things. Now, I'm not surprised that I'm attracting these clients, because it is really a passion of mine. If you've been with me for very long, 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. Some of these beliefs that we attract, like having to do the hard thing in order for it to be worth it, in order for you to be worth it, in order for you to feel good about it, an accomplishment, it like has to be really hard. The struggle has to be there, and you have to sweat, blood, and tears, and all of those things, right? Those come from beliefs that we've had in our past. And it's like there's a saying that's out there, like, it's something worth having, you have to work hard for it, right? You better expect to work hard if you want this other something. I was raised in this belief. I've always worked hard. I've always done the hard thing. My family lived in poverty a lot. We used to get those big 5-pound cheese bricks from down at the convention center in the food line. People would drop off 5-gallon buckets of squash and all the things on our doorsteps. Like, we lived in poverty. So I was never afraid of doing the hard thing. And I think this is why sometimes when people say we can do hard things, we can do hard things, we can do hard things. For me now at the age of 50, I'm like, well, no, duh. I mean, like, I can do hard things, but I don't want to only be doing hard things. I want to be doing things that make my body feel good. I want to be doing things that make me notice, like when I'm out in nature, like that cause me to have gratitude, that allow me to love myself and therefore others more, that allow me to have this freedom of how I want to move about in the world instead of always being constricted. My clients have been experiencing these 5 things. And so I'm wondering if you're experiencing them too. If you are, feel free to shoot me a message. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, put it in the comments below. So the first sign is that we always are addicted to doing things the hard way is that we're constantly saying to ourselves, and you may think this like, no duh, Rachel, of course, but how often are you thinking, why does this have to be so hard? How often do you think, why do I have to overcomplicate everything? It's like everything has to be a challenge in order for you to achieve it, in order for you to complete it, in order for you to move through it. We get used to this. The body gets used to this. It gets used to the adrenaline that it needs. It says it needs in order to accomplish something. And there is a way of being in which you don't have to shoot your adrenaline up so high in order to know like, hey, I'm accomplishing this and I feel like a success. I feel like I'm making a difference in the world, like I'm making an impact in the world. Okay, number 2 is you experience fatigue of the emotional roller coaster. So it's very interesting how people that often choose to do things the hard way all the time also have a level of anxiety. So they're on this kind of level of this vibration of right? And so in order to make themselves do the thing, they have to shoot their emotions up. Okay, I'm going to do this. And they're like pumping themselves up. And sometimes this is great. Like sometimes you have to motivate yourself, but doing it all of the time is exhausting. It wears the body down and it really depletes your nervous system and its ability to regulate, right? So you're on this emotional roller coaster that's like ups and downs, like, okay, things are going great. I'm accomplishing all this stuff. Everything's going great. And then like, boom, now why can't I do it? Why aren't I keep doing the same thing? And so you expect yourself to reach this level and just keep going up. That's not going to work. Eventually what's going to happen is your body's going to say, I'm done doing this. It's going to say, I'm breaking down now. How many of you have ever gone on a vacation? Finally gone on a vacation. And when you're on vacation, you get sick. And I don't mean from something on the vacation. I mean, you actually get sick because your body's like, I am now taking full advantage of this rest time. And then you don't really get to enjoy it. Or you go on vacation and all you're doing is doing. And you miss how the sand feels underneath your feet. You miss the quiet because it's always go, right? And you're on this emotional roller coaster. And then pretty soon you're like, oh, this is my normal. I want to tell you the emotional roller coaster is not normal. We have made it normal in our society. We've made it normal through self-shaming and judgment, but it is not. And it doesn't have to be that way. And you can still feel super successful. You can still feel like you've done all of the things. In fact, this morning I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much time. I'm feeling like this abundance of time. And I was like, what is that about? It's because I'm not in the stress response all the time. I'm like, okay, do this and do that and do this and do that and do this and do that. I'm like, oh my gosh, look around me. Like it creates gratitude, right? Okay, so number 3 is you find yourself pushing through constantly and needing to distract yourself from your emotions and your physical body to get through the day. So many of my clients are highly intelligent. They are high achievers. Well, I guess they're kind of like I used to be. I am still a high achiever. I am still highly intelligent. But I don't have to ignore and be purely cognitive to make it through my day. I don't have to ignore the emotions. This is the one thing that has really driven my whole entire business, is that we are taught to shut off the emotions so we can do the thing that we're supposed to do, or we should do, or we need to do because it makes us feel worthy. But this constant repression of your emotions will catch up to you. This constant repression of your emotions that get stored in the body will catch up to you. I had a client send me a message the other day and she's like, it's finally caught up with me. She's like, over the weekend, I literally slept 10 hours a day. I had to go to the doctor. My endocrine system is fried and I cannot find any energy right now. And her body decided to tell her it was time to rest. There are signs that your body is giving you. There are signs that your emotions are giving you. Listen to them. But if you're constantly pushing, it's because there's fear within those emotions. What will happen if I actually stop and feel the emotions? If you're not sure, that's okay. There's no other way around it, though. You need to go through the emotions. They'll hit you one way or another. I guarantee it. Okay, so you find yourself pushing through. Number 4 is you find yourself motivated by crisis, but you find yourself contemplating the very simple decisions, or the things that used to feel simple to do and to decide on are now complex, or you find it really annoying. Like, I just don't have time for that. Right? It's this pattern that we have of the crisis has to be there in order for us to be able to function. Now, we're supported in this belief through social constructs. We're supported through this belief through things that happen, right? And so we find ourselves in a withdrawal kind of when things aren't in crisis. When you actually like have a moment and like gotta immediately get up and go do something, because you can't have a moment by yourself, because what will happen if you do? Now, some people pass this off as I just like being busy. Okay, that's great. If someone's life is fantastic being busy, then this episode isn't for you. But if you find yourself being tired of being busy and missing out on the things that you care about the most, missing out on being with your kids, missing out on being with your partner, missing out on being able to go out and do things in the community you care about the most, then there is a downside to this. And being constantly motivated by crisis will take a toll. It takes a toll on firefighters. It takes a toll on nurses and doctors and all the people who support us. It takes a toll. It will come out eventually. Unfortunately, the thing is that we don't hear about that very much. And when we do, it means that someone often has decided to take their life because of it. It doesn't have to reach that point. It's the simple decisions that seem to go away that, like, I'm sitting there staring in the grocery store and kind of zoning out because I don't know what almond milk I'm going to choose. I mean, I get the same almond milk every time, but it's like, it's that kind of example, right? So if you find yourself always having to be in crisis, always having to be a rush somewhere, and it always has to, okay, we have to do this and then again, if you're loving your life like that, totally cool. But if you're not, think about these other things. Okay, so number 5 is that you're so exhausted from doing all of the things that you can't enjoy the things that truly mean the most to you. Family, friends, partner, your life. Are you enjoying your life? Are you making meaningful connections? Are you feeling like you're making an impact? Are you fulfilling what you feel is your purpose? Or are you just going around from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing? Are you able to sit with someone who you truly care about? And not have your mind be going, okay, what's next? Okay, but can you be present with them? It's these kinds of things that decrease very slowly and slowly and slowly the quality of life that you experience. Now, people say to me, Rachel, what's the answer? I might get the smackdown for this. The answer is to know yourself, to find the parts of you that think that these things need to be done in order to be worthy. One of the questions I ask every single one of my clients is, if I was able to take you out into the woods, and not in a creepy way, just FYI, if I was able to drive you out to the woods and drop you off in this beautiful, serene place Like, we're not that far from Humboldt County, you know, the redwoods, all the things. And I was to drop you there. Could you stand there in the woods doing absolutely nothing and know and feel that you are worthy without doing anything? The mind doesn't get to think about it. Can you feel it in your body? Can you know how worthy you are without doing one single thing? Without having to have it be so hard, without having to have to push yourself so much to do all of the things and nothing ever gets done well. Could you feel worthy right there? Every single one of my clients say no. And they say no just in the beginning. But by the time we're done working together, they're not worried about how hard it has to be to make them worthy or it worthy. They're able to say there is worthiness already. And therefore, everything I experience from here on out, things can be hard. Things can also be easy. Things can have flow. What does it feel like to bring more joy into my body? To experience life the way I want to, instead of working so freaking hard every single day to finally enjoy it, which you may never make it there. I talk about this a lot too. It's just like, you know, you only have one life. Gary Vee said it, like you're dead for a really long time, but you're only alive for a short amount of time. And how are you experiencing your life right now? Are you stuck in the pattern of constant crisis, constant adrenaline rush for you to feel like you are alive? Because you're alive without the adrenaline rush, just a little FYI. You are. And this is how we begin to experience the full way of living. It's about you knowing who you are, being you 100% of the time without shame or guilt. This is removing all those social constructs, those beliefs that I had when I was a small child that I had to put myself. This is messed up, just FYI. I literally would make myself do things because I knew I would have to do hard things when I grew up as an adult. And if I learned and started when I was little, and I could do the hard thing when I was little, and I could make it through the crisis, and I could make it through the discipline, and I could make it through all the things, that then I can make it through life. Dude, that's like fucked up. It's fucked up as a small child to make yourself suffer so that you can make sure to live later. Wow, that made me a little bit emotional if you're not watching the video. Surprise. But really, I mean, think of it. What are you needing or saying that you need to suffer through in order to be worthy to be who you want to be? To experience what you want to experience. This thing about doing the hard thing, it keeps us distracted. It keeps our body in a tense mode. It fries your adrenal system. And it really inhibits you from having the happiness and the joy that you want to have. You don't have to stop doing things. You don't have to stop accomplishing things. You don't have to just live this life where you're like flowing all about it and you don't know what you're doing. No, you can have goals. But there is a more productive, efficient, and helpful way for you to do that so that you can live the life that you want to live in the longest way possible. I mean, I'm here to get some shit done. And I want to live a long time so I can do all the shit I want to do. That's the fact of it. So I am invested in living with more ease, with more joy, knowing that when the hard things come, I can absolutely do them, but they are not necessary for me to feel alive or to be motivated or define my worthiness. So the thing you need to do is get to know yourself and to have the courageous decision to say, I'm going to look at these parts of me. I'm going to heal them, and I'm going to tap into this truest part of myself. I call it the wise one within. I'm going to tap into her or them and say, this is where I operate from now. This is what helps my clients live a life that they never thought that they could be living, is through healing these parts of themselves. And in fact, I wanted to share with you, I'm just going to move this over really quick. I had a client I was meeting with the other day, and she said to me, we were talking about having to do things the hard way, and how much self-trust and safety, ultimate self-trust and safety, play in this. And she said, before I worked with you, I don't ever think that I trusted myself. But since we started working together, I do. And that means that I can do things and bring more love and joy into my life instead of more stress and exhaustion. So if you're looking for more freedom, for more love, and for more joy in your life, then I want to empower you to start on this journey of beginning to truly know yourself, to take this courageous step in saying, I'm going to see these parts of myself. I'm going to love them. And then I'm going to recreate, or I'm going to create a new identity of a different way of interacting in the world. When you do this, you will experience freedom. You will. You will experience more joy. You will experience more happiness. You'll experience being more present with the things, to be with the people and do the things that you care about the most. It all will come to you. I guess in the last moments of this, because this is such an interesting topic, I would love to hear from you if you feel like you've been addicted to doing things the hard way. If any of the 5 things that we've talked about today, which are, you ask yourself, why does this have to be so hard? Or why is it feeling so hard? Experience fatigue of the emotional roller coaster, and then you pass it off as normal. This is just how it is. You find yourself pushing through constantly and needing to distract yourself from the emotions and physical body to get through your day. You find yourself motivated by crisis, but find yourself contemplating the very simple decisions that used to feel really easy. And the last one is that you're so exhausted from doing all the things you can't enjoy the things that truly mean the most to you. If you're experiencing those, I want to encourage you to reach out. I also want you to know that you are already enough. I want you to know that you're already worthy. I want you to know that you already know the right thing. It's just been hard to listen. And if you want to make and create these changes, that I would love to hear from you if you want to see what that would look like for you. All right. So, my heart's a little like feeling like so grateful, and just feeling like this needed to come out. So I want to say thank you all for listening. Thank you for continuing to share my videos and my episodes of Road to Radical Visibility. If you feel compelled, please make sure to click the thumbs up and the subscribe if you want more of this kind of information on my YouTube channel, and feel free to rate the podcast. I'll end this video like I end every single video. Please make sure to stay true to yourself, be kind to others, and always, always, always honor the wise one that is within you. I will see you all on the next Road to Radical Visibility. Bye. Hold up, don't go yet. If this episode inspired you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed, even just that little bit more, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I'm here, and I know you are too, to make a positive impact in the world. So don't forget to share the love. And if you were left wanting more of this type of kick-ass content, then don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. Until next time, make sure to stay true and be you. Until then, bye. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to another episode of Road to Radical Visibility. My name is Rachel Freemon Sowers, also your host, known as the Breakthrough Bitch, because I am passionate about helping people in the LGBTQ plus and female communities break free from the social constructs, beliefs, and opinions that have been holding them back from truly being themselves 100% of the time. What, if you know, or have hung out here for very long, you'll know the motto is helping people be 100% themselves 100% of the time. No shame or guilt needed. And this is exactly why we are diving in today with my guest. You can see her on screen already. I want you to help me welcome Erica Hurtubiese. She is a mom. She is a teacher. She is all the things. And thank you so much for being here. So happy. So I told her we were getting raw and real, and she's like, let's go, girl. She was like all the way. So this episode is going to be fantastic. If you are someone who has worked through any kind of grief, if you're someone who has become tired as a caregiver, if you're someone who wants to be empowered and inspired to find your life again, whatever that means, I want to empower you to listen to the end of this episode because it is going to be so powerful. I am happy to get started. And as you know, the question I ask everyone at the beginning of the show is, what does radical visibility mean to you, Erica?
It is, yeah, right. It is listening to myself and claiming my worthiness with zero shame, ceasing to care whom I please, or what anyone has to say about me, and choosing me in every way, always me first.
All right. So if you're listening and you're like, I want that, keep listening. The way that Eric and I met was through Fuel for Fat Loss. And, you know, there was no chance that I entered into that space and that you entered into that space, because both of us have this mission. So tell me a little bit about your mission in life.
It has been radically redefined in the last 3 years. My mission in life 3 years ago was just this very stuck in trauma, grieving, surviving person. Now it is opening up the dialogue to release the shame of having grief and releasing the shame of healing through that process and accepting who we are now post-loss and finding the power to just redefine who we are. And redefine that and find a lot of joy and comfort in that. Yeah.
I was with a group of women before hopping on here, and one of them said, I really want to just know how to accept where I'm at and how to be in that space. And you have a blog that you've been writing for several years now. I mean, like I went through every single one of those things and I scrolled and I was like, oh, my heart, right? Such beautiful things in that blog. What made you start the blog?
I got sick and tired of answering the question, how are you? Face to face with people, to be truthful. My late husband had a lot of friends who he made throughout his life who lived internationally. Therefore, I was getting a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, and it became overwhelming. And one of them said, you know, why don't you just put like a little blog together and then we can log in and we can check in. And it didn't feel right to me to just only be like, Jack's good, blood's good, and just keep it at that. And it morphed into my perspective as a caregiver from the other side. So it became, yes, I'm expressing how Jack is doing, but I'm expressing how I am and how our children are doing through this. Because no one was asking how the boys were. And so I felt that our voice needed a voice. Yeah.
Well, that's the first, that first step to radical visibility, but I don't want to skip ahead. Like, tell us the story about how you ended up getting to where you're at. Like, where did this story start?
My story started in 2012 when I met my husband. We'd been friends for a long, long time, being in the same community and being involved in the same activities. We'd had a 20-year friendship and acquaintance. And then in 2012, it morphed into a romantic relationship. And from there, we got married and we went through, infertility treatments and loss that way. And we blended families because I had a son from a previous relationship. And so we merged these two lives together, and then we got married, and then 2016 had our son after infertility treatments. And then in August of 2018, Jack was diagnosed with a horrible brain cancer called glioblastoma. And survivorship of that is 2 years at the most. So my caregiving role started in August of 2018 and continued on throughout his fight and treatments through his cancer until he passed in May of 2019.
And then go from one trauma to the next trauma of COVID and all the things, right? That it doesn't ever really stop. Sometimes we feel like it needs to stop, but the point is that we need to be wanting to function and need to function independent of what the outside world is kind of, throwing at us. And I think that's one thing that you've been able to really find.
I worked really hard at just trying to just survive for that first year, with COVID entering all of our lives. It was just breathing. I'm breathing, we're good. I'm breathing, we're good. I wasn't living by any means. My life didn't have purpose. It was pure survivorship. And then creating just so many belief systems in myself that I knew were untrue, but I didn't know who I was in that moment. I didn't know what was going on in my life. My life was so out of control, so ridiculously out of control emotionally. And so I was allowing people to come into my life that were so unhealthy. And now, knowing who I am, I wouldn't have never even blinked at them. Never mind engaged an actual relationship with them. So through that process and honestly losing myself to unworthiness, I woke up this past year and just, I don't know what happened, Rachel, but it was enough. My heart was like, enough.
Yeah.
Seriously, my heart and my brain were like, this is enough. Enough. And I was done being sad. I was done pleasing other people. I was finished with it. I was so exhausted from doing it that I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it needed to end. I didn't know what that picture was going to look like, but it had to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
So say hello to the truest self, my friend. I mean, the truest self. I mean, that is the part that said, I am now claiming the knowing that I do know, and we're going to do this now, because so often, we're covered up by all of whatever is happening, right? Grief, social constructs, people asking, and it's a journey to this place, right? Yeah. But when you wake up having that feeling, it is literally everything in your body is like, we're flipping the switch now.
And that's exactly beautiful. What happened. Yeah. Flipped it on its head.
Well, and we can talk about the things that you started doing in a little bit, but I want to revisit part of your blogs because I was touched by part of them. And I've heard so many of the same things from some of my clients and just people that watch my show and all the things that communicate with me and the ways that they communicate with me. And there was a couple of them that stuck out. And there was one that was titled, "I'm doing great." And then the first sentence of it was, "I'm doing great, but are you really?" And I wonder if you can expand on that phrase, because so many women that I encounter just in daily life and societal, at least here in the United States, is like, how are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. And even in my recent bout with COVID, I found myself wanting to say, oh, it's not as bad as it is, or I'm fine. And I wasn't. I was super sick. So I think this is something society teaches us to do. So tell us a little bit about your journey to there.
Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, but I'm doing great. caregiving to me just was so overwhelming. And I thought that if I was really honest with everyone, people would vanish. They'd realize how difficult it was and how raw it was and how much pain I was really in. And it takes a really unique person to witness that and sit with that with another human. And I don't think I had those people around me. So I authentically was like, I'm fine. I'm doing great. Like, what do you mean? Because everybody made it about my husband. It was his cancer journey. He was the patient. It was all about him. And so I just got numb to that. I just internalized it as nobody cares about me. So I'm great. I'm fine. Hands off. And we're rocking it. I wasn't rocking nothing. I could barely think. I couldn't even put two sentences together some days. But because I was told it's his cancer, it's his disease, it's his fight, I internalized that as, you don't matter. So don't tell anyone how you're doing, because they don't care anyways. They don't care. This is just a formality. So expressing, but are you really? Was my way of kind of giving the middle finger to the people who weren't asking me how I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's a level of shame that goes into if you're not doing fine. I mean, what makes us say that we're fine if we're not? Like, because if we're not, what will we appear to be to people? And although that may not always be the initial thought, it's like people are asking how you're doing, and you're like, do you really want the answer? Because do you want the truth, or do you just want this like blanket thing? Yeah. And so when is it so polite that we can't even express ourselves? Right? That's kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, totally. And that's where I am now, is I am authentically expressing myself. It's you're asking how I am. Here you go. And now it's up to you what you do with it. Mm-hmm. The answer to that question, that's up to you. You asked, I answered, and that's where we are. That's where we are.
Well, and for those of you that are listening, realize that this is a new way of being for people. And you're not attaching to how they feel. I mean, some people will literally stop asking you, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. And some people will be like, oh, well, I didn't really need to know all that. Like this is a different way of being, and a shift that helps this kind of radical visibility, saying, I'm no longer ashamed of where I'm at, whether it's really great and I am doing freaking fantastic, or I'm not doing that great and I'm really suffering. And it's that ability to run that range now as part of this radical visibility that now it's a beautiful thing to watch, just FYI. I'm so glad I get to watch it in the VIP group and outside of that too. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks.
And I think there's a lot of honesty in your blog. And, there's another blog post that is about, caregiving sucks. And even just saying that, automatically my brain is like, people are going to think you don't care about others. People are going to think blah, 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 or that you don't love this person or whatever. But we don't talk about what happens to the caregivers. So tell me a little bit about what made you write that blog.
Because people stopped caring about the caregiver. I was like, seriously, I was such an afterthought in this entire process. And even when Jack died, in the memorial planning and all of those things, everyone's ego just went huge. Mm-hmm. Everyone made it all about them, all about me, my needs. What do I need out of this? You have to please me. You have to do this. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second here. You are entering my home. This is my sacred space. This is the space my children come home to every day after daycare and after school. This needs to be their safe space too. It's not a revolving door of guests and, people coming to say and hang out and have their goodbyes and all these sorts of things. We need some boundaries in here. And every time I put a boundary in place, I was, whoa, it was like piranhas at prey. It was attack, attack, attack. And I got sick of it. And I was like, well, God damn it. If you people aren't going to respect me and listen to me, then I don't know what I'm going to do, because I'm not shipping my husband off to a hospital. He's made that explicitly clear. That's not where he wants to be. He wants to be at home. And I'm his primary caregiver, but no one's listening to me. I am doing the emotional heavy lifting. His every need is met because I'm doing it. He's getting to the doctor's appointments. His meds are being filled. The home support is coming. The hospital bed has arrived. The handrail has been put in place. My children are fed. You get to have a scheduled visit with him. It's all on me. All on me. And there's a scene from Encanto with the sister, and she's carrying the donkeys. That was me.
That was such a great movie.
Done.
Yeah.
Right? And that was me. And that's the best way to describe it. It was like, I'm going to snap. And so it's like, caregiving sucks. I didn't want to be this 40-something-year-old woman who had this whole new life in front of her. And now here I am with this remarkably emotionally charged, passionate role that I took very seriously. Very seriously. Very seriously. Caring for my husband was important.
Yeah. And when you're the type of person that takes things on at 100% or 150%, it really has you dive deep into some of these things, right? And to be so connected to whatever the outcome, and the people coming in, they don't see all the behind the scenes stuff. They don't see, they see one thing. And I wonder if this is really when the truest self started sparking up and being like, no, thank you. We're not doing that, or we won't survive.
No, we won't survive, Rachel. We will not survive. Absolutely not. And I truly believe you that is when things started to genuinely change inside of me. I just had other things to deal with first. And then when those things slowly pieced out and those things slowly dissolved and they were dealt with, that authentic self started to bubble up, and it became more visible and became more real and more tangible, because I didn't have all that outside noise distracting me. Yeah.
So what were some of the steps you took then? Okay, so you had this aha moment. The truest self is like fully awakened. Okay. And you're like, okay, this is how I'm moving forward. What were the choices you made that changed the trajectory of your experience of your life?
I consciously decided that I wasn't going to mourn my husband anymore. I wasn't going to mourn him. I was going to love him. And in the process of loving him, I love myself. Because I started to see myself through his eyes again.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it was like, I am so loved. And this human transitioned to that other dimension, to that other place, carrying my love and leaving all of that behind. And he deserves, and our family deserves, to be honored and respected with love. With love. And so I made the conscious choice to remember him with love and not be sad about it anymore. And that was the big game changer for me, was to move forward with love and not sadness.
That, like, wow. And it takes me back to the Facebook post you did about your Dia de los Muertos altar, because we have one. We actually have one that stays up in our house every single day of the year. Okay. My daughter was born on Day of the Dead, and every single year my dad, we would celebrate his birthday, and I would make him a Day of the Dead cake. It was always just celebrating his life every single time he was born. And it's like when you cross over kind of with them into that way of how you can truly feel that love again, and in my belief, I don't think we're ever without them. Right. And that kind of relationship just opens and expands our experiences so much. So that's like, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So you started loving yourself again, and he helped you see the love of self through his eyes. Yeah. What was another thing that you have kind of shifted for this radical visibility?
Spending time by myself. Not needing other people's company, not needing that at all. Like, just, we're good. Like, let's just get to know you, because this is so brand new. You know, you're a tourist in your own mind now, and you're a tourist in your own heart. And I wanted to get to know who I was. I didn't want any external opinions. I didn't want any external chatter about, oh, you should try this, or have you tried that? I wanted to find out for myself. Okay, Erica, 3 years, what's going on for you? What do you want to do? And rediscovering the things that I really want to do, and the things that really make me shine and make me happy and fill my heart and fill my soul. And so I had worked with Simone and Fuel for Fat Loss before in 2019, the summer after Jack died. And I knew what benefit I got from that. I knew what my heart felt like, and I knew my body and my brain and everything. So I dove back in with Simone and Fuel for Fat Loss. That was definitely one thing I did. I was like, I know I can care for myself if I start taking care of myself. And that was step one of taking care of myself. And then not depending on others to fulfill any sort of emotional need for me.
Now you know why she's on the show, peeps. Now you know why.
No. Yep. Filling my own bucket, my own way, doing it for myself. Yep.
Well, and it's really, I mean, I know from your story in Fuel for Fat Loss is that you were really tuning into what your body needed too. And maybe you started doing things differently, and you started giving yourself various experiences that allowed you to say, no, this feels right now. This is no longer something that my body is needing from me, and creating this nurturing kind of way of being with yourself that changes things.
It does. It absolutely does. And the nurturing aspect is huge, absolutely huge. Listening to that little piece that says, I need rest. Listening to that little piece that says, I need nature. Listening to that little voice that, is a little more childlike, because it's so authentic, and it's so, it doesn't have judgment. It doesn't have the world, telling it what to do, and listening to that little piece of myself. And I am so grateful for that, because I am finding so much fun in everything now. I am so much fun, and just doing things for me, to be me and by me and for me. It's me first. It's me first. And it's a little weird and a little strange, because you feel selfish, but
until you don't.
Until you don't. Until you're standing there and you're like,
it's good.
Check me out. Look what I have going on.
And I think, so often too, this is a whole level of radical visibility that each person finds in their own definition, in their own way. But it really is this radical visibility to yourself first, and being like, if I were to say something that I do well, which I say all the time, someone said to me one time online, oh, that's a humble brag. I'm like, no, it's not a humble brag. I'm just bragging. I'm just expressing, I'm good at this stuff, and I know it, and I'm not ashamed of it. Right. And how that, when you start finding that, then you discover the people around you shift. Then you're
totally. Oh, words. That is so true. So true. And I am so okay with some of the people not making it. Like I'm okay with that, because this elevated version of me is going to need elevated versions of them. And if they're not ready to join me, I'm not waiting for you. I got a life to live.
Right.
And I have joy to find.
Yeah. Because it is your life. I mean, right. I say this all the time. Like, and it's okay if someone else isn't, if there's no longer a match there, or people are in our lives for seasons and we are grateful for what they brought and whatever that included. And then we can say, thank you very much. And I hope that you have a wonderful life, whatever that means for you. And removing that fear of people feeling like they're trying to impede stuff on you. Like if you feel that pressure from other people, radical visibility is where you release all of that. And there's no pressure there at all.
None. And saying, absolutely saying yes to myself and being, and taking my power back. Like taking my power back. It's like I am me, and that's my power. And so I am going to hold on to that, and I'm going to completely define who I am now without anyone's approval. Anyone's approval. It's not about them. It's not about them.
Absolutely. And I hear a lot of, if you're wondering, what we're talking about as far as like taking your power back, realize that your power has never left you, but it has been covered up by social constructs, expectations, your environment, your experiences, all of the things that have taught you to be a certain way, that is you. And you reclaim this power, you rediscover with so much joy and force, and I don't know what other words, like I just feel like all of this stuff you discover.
I feel like that. It's amazing. I have these moments in the morning because I get up at stupid o'clock, so I avoid.
What is that time?
Right, it's 5 a.m. That's what it is. It's freaking dark out. Still, and so I get up then, and I journal, and I have breakfast, and I sit with myself. And I've had moments, Rachel, where I have been so overwhelmed by something. And I don't know what it is, but it is this deep, like, almost excitement. And it overwhelms me. I get tears in my eyes someday. And it's not sadness, but it's this energy in me. It's this energy. And it has to come out of my body somehow. And it's got to be gratitude. I swear, it is me, my heart, my soul, so full of gratitude for where I am and for what I have. Absolutely. And it's an energy, and I can't explain it. I just can't. But I think that's what it is. It's the returning to self. It's like this little kid is like, yes.
Yeah. Well, yes. I wonder, let me ask you this, because when you create radical visibility, when anyone creates it, they start experiencing an expansiveness. And the expansiveness is like, oh shit, this, like, oh damn, like I can feel it in my body as I'm moving my hands. Like I can feel expansiveness, and it's gratitude. It's deep gratitude. It's deep knowing. It's deep joy. It's deep appreciation. It's deep care. It's like all the things that you are now, instead of shoving out towards everyone else, you actually experience, and your body becomes full.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you nailed it. That's exactly what I'm going through. Exactly what it is. And what a freaking cool feeling.
It is, huh?
So cool. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. And now, because I have like an overflow and abundance, I'm so available for those I love now. Like so available for them, for my boys, for the students I work with who are so vulnerable, for the people that I truly love and care about. I just have extra. And damn, that feels good. It feels so good.
If you want extra, peeps, excuse me, my beautiful friends, if you want extra, this is how you get it. If you want to stop being tired, if you want to have an abundance of time, if you want to have an abundance of energy and of just this joy for your life, this is how you get that. Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question after I cough. Just 1 second. Okay, so my last question to you is, what would you like to share with someone who is out there who may be struggling with feeling shame of being tired and, honestly tired of caregiving, who has continuously sacrificed themselves and who has lost who they are and they don't know their way? What would you tell them?
That is so complex. I would tell them to get a journal. And I would tell them to start writing to themselves about the things that made them happy before they became a caregiver. I would have them write to themselves who they were before they became a caregiver, so that they can go back and read it and see who they truly are. Because caregiving isn't who you are. It's a role we take on. It's not authentically who we are. It is a responsibility of love that we give to the people we care about. And it's not something that lasts forever, unfortunately, in most circumstances. It's not. It's very temporary. And to know that who they are is not defined by their caregiving role. Who they are is not defined by any sort of expectation or outcome that others place on them. That they are authentically themselves regardless. Regardless. And
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being here and being real and raw and allowing us into your world. Can you let everyone know where they can find your blog? And I'll make sure that it's in the comments below of the podcast and on the YouTube channel.
Thanks. It's the Hurtubiese Files at blogspot.com. And that's where it is. If you find me on Facebook, I write once a week and I post. I dropped it for 3 years when Jack died. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to define it again, and now I'm defining it for me and what I'm going through and how I'm feeling and this part of my life now. So the Hurtubiese Files at blogspot.com.
Well, and I'll make sure to put the link. I'll also put your link to your your Facebook, and people can friend you and watch your journey over there. I just want to say it's been such an honor to have you on the show, for you to share your journey with us. And I'm encouraging all of you out there who may be struggling at this time and just want some empowerment and inspiration on how you can continue to be present and living in your own life, to continue to listen to the show. So I'll end this video like I end every single video and say, please make sure to stay true to yourself, be kind to others, and always, always, always honor the wise one that is within you. I will see you all on the next road to radical visibility. Until then, bye. Hold up, don't go yet. If this episode inspired you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed, even just that little bit more, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I'm here, and I know you are too, to make a positive impact in the world. So don't forget to share the love. And if you were left wanting more of this type of kick-ass content, then don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. Until next time, make sure to stay true and be you. Until then, bye.